This is addressing the narrow road and one of the emails I've been sending out to those I communicate with and things I've shared over the phone with them. It's called about ahead of the curve. The expression we are ahead of the curve is exactly what the Lord's been giving us for weeks now. My question is this just our hearing the news? Are we ahead of the curve because we hear the news? Or is it nothing more than something we have heard others say on the web? Or is it our social relationships, family, friends, and work associates? You gotta be in the know. Sometimes what you know isn't the truth, it's a bunch of lies. We each have to answer this question for ourselves. For example, the things I have been sending and claiming I am getting, like from the Lord, these things I email to you all, is it just as I said, or is it truly coming from the Lord for us all, which will allow us to be ahead of the curve? Think of the quote, what it means, being ahead of the curve. If I understand this correctly, it is just as the Lord said to us just this week. He has made our path smooth. He has made the crooked path straight. He raised the valleys and made it possible for us to go to the mountains and not around them or over them. I can claim this, but the question is, am I really seeing around the curve? I can't answer that for you. It is something you must come to see as well. That which is around the curve up this road we are on. If it is still a curve, you are only seeing a few hundred yards up the road and will have to wait until you make the bend in the road. Knowing the Lord and what He has accomplished for us, and from the vantage point He has over our lives, from heavenly present Christ Jesus, do you think that if we could get to this vantage point in our spirit, that we could actually see what is crooked as straight, and what is high as low, and what is low raised up? Possible. He says it. He promised it. So you hold him to his promise. In the military, now catch it, here's the illustration. In the military, we were taught to read maps that reveal the terrain of an area. Now the valley and the mountains were on these two-dimensional maps using symbols of shading and circles. In our minds, we were taught to see these two-dimensional maps in three dimensions. Well, from where our Father views matter, He sees them far beyond our restricted three-dimensional viewpoint. We just have to gain the mind of Christ. Doing so, we will be ahead of the curve. That's one piece, and it's awesome how the Lord does that. Well, in light of this, seeing around the curve, from our standpoint, is not a curve. You can see it looking down at it. Though it may appear to curve to the eyes of men, to us we can see it around that curve. This is a warning of something that's come up. And I've passed this on to those I emailed to and shared it with them over the phone. Here's a warning. We all know that text in Hebrews of how once more God will shake everything that can be shaken. Anything that will last is this kingdom is within. Get past just the religious idea of this text. Here's what I've been told. God has wearied of this world, and they're excluding Him in their professional practices. Doctors, lawyers, politicians. That now, what once worked for them, because it allowed it to work, now even that which He once allowed to work will not work. Here's an example. The flu shots are only the beginning. You remember the controversy that came out recently about the flu shots? Well, it was once said that body exercise profits little. Now even the little will not work. If you have not come to know that He was always the sustainer, remember He created us, He sustains us, and He will consummate this life. What you have once used to sustain you, no longer will. Think about this and what it means for this world. In this InfoWars, Alex Jones, some of you may watch him, and kind of some of the other alternative news programs. Well, in this InfoWars video, they spoke of their natural substance to battle these things. Each one of these sells some form of natural substance, right? And body exercise that'll help. Now, it profits somewhat little, better than doing nothing. In the InfoWars video, they spoke of their natural substance to battle these things. You know, not going with pharmaceutical companies and their drugs and their shots that are killing people more than helping them. You know, side effects are, and half the things they put out. In the InfoWars video, they spoke of their natural substance to battle these things. They will not work any more than what the medical professor is trying to get us to be. Stay in the spirit. That's a warning. Now here's another one that goes right along with this. Let me pause and get that article up. Well, in light of God being our sustainer, this is a response I sent out to one of those I communicate with. I called it "Give to Caesar what Caesar's." I just saw this. I'm sitting there reading the email, and I'm sitting there to contemplate, well, how am I going to respond to this? Then this, like, aha, I saw this. Here is the situation. If you were in it, just an example to show what the Lord is offering. It don't have to be true. Let's say if you were a nurse today, you heard about this, and they said that it was mandatory that you get this flu shot, which others are saying you don't want to get the flu shot, it's having devastating effects on people, that you get this flu shot that's been proven to not work or gives you the flu, what would you do? Now we read of those who are refusing. They refuse to take it because they read up on it. They don't want to take it and thus lose their job as a nurse. People are losing their jobs. You don't take the shot, it's mandatory. You have to take it. God. Is there a better way? Is there a way out without losing your job? And what the Lord is sharing, you could take the shot, knowing what has been said of it, but you're taking the shot will have no effect on you. Now, I got a whole series. It's called Rights of the Unfallen Adam. You would have to get into that. I'm not going to try to do that here. I'm not going to tell you not to take it, to take it. You would have to read that. Even in there, I put a disclaimer up front that I'm not trying to give out medical advice. You have to make that decision yourself when it comes to that. But I'm saying, if you see what I'm saying, you wouldn't have to lose your job. You could take the shot and it will have no effect on you. So that's what I'm saying. Same applies to your children in the school system, making this flu shot mandatory. Now you see it. Like when you get a baby, brand new baby, he has to go through a series of shots. And by the time he gets to school age, he has to have this record of all these shots. Now to find out a lot of these kids are getting or becoming autistic, is really messing these kids up. Here's this perfect running kid. All of a sudden he starts getting all these shots mandatory by the government. And all of a sudden the child just goes and uh, just loses it. They don't know why. Now all kids are doing this. Now every kid's affected by something. Seems like we don't know. I know. I wouldn't have to worry about it. People say, "Oh, you would gloom and doom people." No, I'm not gloom and doom. I'm telling you, there's an answer. I can rehear this. I'm sitting on the straight and narrow road. I'm looking left, right. I'm hearing the opinions on this side about it. Take it. It's helpful. You better take it. It's mandatory. And the other side said, "Don't take it. Refuse it. Lose. If you have to lose your job, don't get you." And you just got, God, what's the answer to all this? What do you do? Damn if you do. Damn if you don't. So I said, get into my whole series, Rights to the Unfallen Adam. If you have any questions, because I don't give it all on there. I've put so many videos in there, and I stop. If people have no interest in it, I don't put any more. But I got a whole, I'm trying to put it into blogs and the whole book on that, so you can read it for yourself. They're saying that if your child doesn't get the shots, they can't return to school. They're doing this. They're doing it. Here you are. What do? Well, you could pull your child out of the school system and homeschool them, as some have done. Some have done it for that very reason. Nothing wrong with this. I know many aren't homeschooling for this reason. They have other reasons. Some not doing it is not the reason. But for those that would do this for this reason, to get them so they won't have to take these shots, what would you do when they come to your house and demand that all school age children must take the shot, even those who are homeschooled, and you get an approved record? Well, what the Lord is offering, you're covered if you get the shot or not. Okay, I lost my spot on a phone call. I had to stop and take a phone call. Okay. Alternative, it isn't his way of handling it. God's got a way of handling it. Remember, he said he's overcome the world. And got to keep his sayings, follow his way. All right. Alternative news is advocating that you refuse a shot. We know that. Mainstream news is fighting this saying, take it, and soon the government will make it mandatory that all get various shots for your own safety and for the well-being of this nation. Imagine this coming, you know. What would you do to endure? Understand, this is before this mark of the beast. Ain't not do with the mark of the beast. And the one do not take of this mark. I'm not talking about that. I'm not addressing this. Because we will not be here for this. Now, that's pre-trib rapture view. I believe that, and you may not believe that. Well, if you don't believe that, then you will be here. So no matter what others are saying, I believe in pre-trib. If you believe this is the case, or what happened, then all I can say is you will get what you got. But think, what have you got? If you stay here, you will have to die. I mean, it's plain and simple. Your only choice will be you have to die. You know? Either by their shots or their mandatory. Oh God, no. You just don't want to be here. You want to escape these things. Get in my series, Confidence and Deliverance. I get in that. Go to my playlist on my channel. You'll find it. It's called Confidence and Deliverance. Now here this expression the Lord gave to me. As stupid as Caesar is, think of our government today. Give Caesar what is Caesar, and what is God's to God. Apply this principle to what's happening today, and God will sustain you. Fight Caesar, and you will die. Blindly join Caesar, and you will die. Stay in the Spirit, and you will live. Got it? So that's, I think, I don't know if I had any more. Let me see if I find another piece. If not, I'll end this and come back and end it. Well, I have this one more, and I'll end it on this. I recently put out a video with music and graphics and giving highlights of the Shepherd's Prayer, 23rd Psalm by David. I mean, there's so much in that psalm. It even affects this area about being on this narrow road. It affects our sustainability of the cares and fears of this life, and so much so that, you know, He leads me in the path of His righteousness for His name's sake. There's a lot to that. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil. How many sometimes you feel like you're walking through the valley of the shadow of death and hear some of the mainstream media and some of the alternative news, and you wonder what's the answer? It strikes fear in your heart. But true love casts out fear of torment. You don't have to be tormented by this stuff. That was all that I heard. I'll sit down. That's what the Lord said to me in light of all this stuff. Not the whole shepherd's prayer. Way after he had me memorize it, that whole 23rd Psalm. Just these excerpts were stood out in light of our emails, which are the path of His righteousness, this narrow road. His warning us, which He does, for His name's sake, or His promise. A promise that He swore with an oath and promise, and they could swear by none higher. He swore by His own name they would protect us. I mean, God's name is at stake. If we hold Him to His promise, He must keep it. If it appears that He's not, then there's something on your part, not Him. He upholds His promise. When I say stay in the Spirit, I am screaming. Call God to His promise. Remind Him of it, and you will be protected. Of course, you got to know it to do it. You and your family. You are presently walking through the valley of the shadow of death, and as time progresses, the valley will deepen. We fear no evil. Why? Because we have held Him to His promise. This written email just doesn't express what I'm feeling at this moment. I hate emails because, man, you can only say so much in here. You can't write emotions into it. When I got that, I was screaming. I was holding to His promise. I am feeling joy, but also sorrow for those around me. Joy for those I know He will protect, but for sorrow for those who have no clue of what's really happening. I mean, how can you, if you don't know a problem, you can't gain a solution. You got to know you have a problem. We know that from a natural standpoint. From a spiritual standpoint, we know we have a problem. We know we came through the loins of Adam. We know we were cut off from birth. We know by God's given grace before the foundation of the world, He justified us as though we were never born through Adam. And He promised before the world began to save us, spirit, soul, and body, the total being, not just part of you, and then you have to handle the rest. Now, body exercise will profit little, but godliness, which covers spirit, soul, and body. That's what he's saying. At some point, it's not God helping those who help themselves, but God helping those who can't help themselves. It's us giving up on this playing God and treating doctors as gods, and it comes down to one thing: God is God. God's the only one who can promise. He's the only one who can sustain us, and He's the only one who can constantly end this life. Put yourself in His hands, not in the hands of other men. I mean, you got to go where you got to go. You got to do what you got to do. But at some point, may it lead us back to the straight and narrow road and have complete trust in His sustainability that we might endure until the end. God bless you.